Hello everybody and welcome. In today's video I'm going to show you these lovely shamrock looking foliage. They're a beautiful little thing. If I come up really close and show you, their common name is called the old iron cross, because as you can see in the middle they have that lovely sort of cross shape. They're really simple to make, beautiful things. So let's get on with the video. So we're going to start today by taking our flower paste, and I'm going to mix it with a couple of colours here. So I've got Ginkgo by Edible Art and I've got Autumn Green by Edible Art. Now if I just open these, they are two slightly different colours. I don't know if you can just about see that, but they look really nice. So I'm just going to add a tiny bit of the one colour. This is how I always mix. Now if you use Pro Gels then that's absolutely fine too. I like to use the dusts just because I think there's a wider range of colours really. I think it's quite nice to mix in with and it doesn't change the consistency of the paste too much either, which is quite nice. So we mix that up, and then I'm going to add a little bit of the autumn green, make that a little bit bigger. So I kind of make a little bit of a bowl with my paste, and then I'm adding equal quantities of each one. Carefully close it, and as I close it I squeeze at the bottom so that I don't get an airlock in there. This is where a lot of people go wrong, because when they get that airlock it will all of a sudden just pop out. And I tend to mix in the palm of my hand, because then I know it's not going to go all over my board and everywhere else. Now I've copied this particular foliage from the real thing, so I've made my own veiner. So as a reference, I always make one particular piece as a reference piece, which is this one here, because then I can just check the green. Now you can see that that's quite light compared to where I need to go. So I'm going to add a little bit more of the ginkgo. And this has got little pigments of yellow in it as well. I can see already sort of shimmering through. Okay, and then back in the palm of your hand again. So you don't want it all over your board or all over the carpet, so just be aware of that. If you do ever spill this colour on your carpet, corn flour is the best thing to get it out. So if ever you're using powder and you spill it, try and rub corn flour in it, and it kind of brings the colour out. If you add water, you're actually going to stain, so be careful. Right, so I'm just trying to rub that, get the colour off my hands. As you can see, there's a little bit on there. And I think that's quite close. Not too bad. We're going to get away with that. So I'm going to put the lids back on my colour and move those to one side. Now, this is a really quick and easy little thing to do. I've coloured my paste, that's ready to go. Now I need a 28 gauge wire. Now it's up to you how long you want the stems. That will determine how much you cut this wire down. Personally, I'm going to cut it into, I like 3s actually, because I think it's just a nice length to work with. When I cut it in half, sometimes it can be a bit long. If I cut it into 4s, it can be a bit short. So I cut into lengths of 3. Now we need 4 of these wires altogether, but I've done a little bit of preparation, so I'm cheating just a little bit. So I'm just going to show you how to make one. So we get a little bit of paste. Please make sure that you cover your paste. I'm using a little baby's lid like I always do, just to cover it and make sure it's airtight. Now we roll into a sausage to start with, and then I squash down to create a flat sausage. With my rolling pin, I start in the middle and I press down and roll out. Now it might get a bit sticky today because it's a very warm day when I'm working. So corn flour at the ready. So then I'm going to press down and roll out the other side. And then roll from the top. Just make sure there's no debris on your rolling pin, because otherwise it will stick to the rolling pin rather than rolling it out, which can be quite frustrating. Okay, so we're gently rolling in all different directions, but not over that nice ridge, because we want that left there ready for the wire. Now I am going quite thin. You could read through this if I put it over a piece of paper. Just going a little bit thinner. Okay, and that's ready to go. So now we're going to put our wire in. So I hold it between my finger and my thumb, and I get the edge of the wire and I gradually start to press. Now I'm pressing with my finger and my thumb here, and I'm pushing with this hand. So we're putting that in, and it's to about halfway. Now this is the mould that I've already made, and I have done videos on how to make your own moulds with any foliage or leaves, petals that you find in the garden. So as you can see, it's a beautiful mould. It's turned out really well, and I'm using that as my guide today. So I'm going to pop that into the centre and then just press down. Now if you use the padded part of your hand, it works a little bit better. If you push with your fingers, it can encourage arthritis, which we don't want. And then when I pull that out, hopefully you can just about see a little vein there. So we put that to one side. Now I use my little wheel, and this particular one has got two wheels, a big one and a little one. Use whichever one you prefer. And then we just gently go around. Now you can use scissors if you haven't got a wheel. That's absolutely fine. It really does depend on what mood I'm in as to what I use. And what I will say is, just put the excess under that little tub again. Can you see there I've got a little bit of a frayed edge? So that is where I'll get my scissors and just give it a bit of a trim, just to round off any edges that might have gone a little bit square. Now this particular one, you don't need to ball it. It's actually, the veiner does everything for you, apart from folding it in half. So I'm just going to fold it in half, because these are lovely little things. If you do have them in the garden, they close up at night. So the petals go like this at night, and then in the day they open up. So I tend to have them sort of half and half. I think it's quite nice. But don't worry if they, you know, if you have them closed or if you have them open, because it could be that they're just opening up. Okay, how quick was that? That is our one leaf done already. So I've already prepared some, and I'm starting to paint them now. Now the paint that I'm using is, it's a Pro Gel. So these are some that I've already painted ready. And here's one that I'm going to move on and paint with. So it's a Pro Gel, and it is burgundy in colour. Now I've put it on a little tub here so that I can just paint with it. As you can see, there's lots here. There's enough here to do quite a few. And I've got a very, very fine brush. This is a 5/0. Now what we're going to do is start right at the centre. And first of all, I always get that main line, because this line goes just over halfway, and then I work out from the side like so, and it comes just under halfway. I'm going to say just over a quarter really, and then the same on the other side as well. Like so. So there you have that lovely sort of triangle shape. This is where the old iron cross comes into it. And it's this lovely sort of deep burgundy colour, which I think is really attractive. But they come in different colours. You can have them all green. If you were doing an all green one, I would just dust the centre a little bit just to make it a darker green. They also come in a much paler colour as well. And also in red. They look amazing. So you can do variations on this. Now what I'm doing, I want to just follow the veins, and you can just about see them. So I'm getting my brush and I'm rolling my brush because I want a nice point on it. And then I'm just trying to look for those veins and gently do those lines. That really adds to the overall effect, I think. Makes it look really good. and they kind of fade off to nothing. There we are. So we can tinker with this all day, I must admit. Painting is one of my favourite little pastimes. So we're going down to a point there. Now that's the front bit done. When we turn over, the back is quite a simple one. It's just a little bit of colour right by the stem. So just that tiny bit of colour, and that too sort of comes out into a point, into that triangular shape. So we just keep going like so. So that's all we need to do on the back. Now the interesting bit is the bit around the side. So what I tend to do is use the side of the brush now. So I'm putting my brush into that colour, and then I want to just press along the edge. And I know this can be a little bit tricky, and sometimes you go over a little bit on the back. So just take your time with this and go around that edge, and that will really make it stand out. It's one of the lovely features, I think, that I was drawn to first of all, as well as the coloration on it. I just love the way it's tinted around the edges. Quite a few flowers are like this as well, and leaves. There we are. So you can see how I've just kissed the edges with a little bit of colour. Now that's all we need to do painting wise, and I am going to bring over my previously painted. There they are. Now be aware that these are still wet, so it's something we have got to be a little bit careful of. I think that one's more drier because I can see it's a slightly different colour. Now I'm using tape. This is a mid-green, and it's half width, so I've cut it in half. So what I'm going to do to start with, and I will have to get a little bit of colour on my hands, is just press those back. So be really careful, especially if you've only just painted them. Ideally you would wait for them to dry, but I want to show you the finished thing. So we're going to start putting them together. And they go opposite each other, so they're quite simple to put together. In fact, I always think it's a really nice one. If you're not very good at wiring up, this is a really nice one to practice with. Now we've stretched the tape to release the glue, and I'm making that little anchor to start with. Now if it doesn't want to stick to you, a little bit of corn flour on your fingers and try to attach. Now because it's a really warm day, it doesn't want to work. A bit more corn flour there. So keep pursuing, keep twisting, and you will get there. Now there's a little bit of a gap there, which is fine, because what I'm going to do is come down a little bit. I'm going to say about 1 inch. And then, in turn, I'm going to pull them down. Now, because this is wet, it's saving me going right up there, but also it's going to give me a nice, neat finish at the end as well. So we gently pull each one down, and they automatically go where they should go, which is lovely. And then the last one. So make sure they're all really neat, and then you get that nice, neat finish at the top. So then at the back, we just pull them down and keep going all the way down, like so. Now what we're going to do is look at the top, because as you can see, I can see a little bit of a white wire popping through as well. So we want to carefully, now remember these are sugar so they can break, just carefully move them into position really gently. And as I've said, these are a little bit wet. I prefer working with them when they're a little bit wet because it gives me that leverage to move things around a little bit. And then I'm just going to get my paintbrush with a little bit of paint on and just colour that wire so that we can't see it. Because it's not a problem that you might get a bit of green showing or a little bit of wire showing. Just paint over the top and then that looks lovely. Move it around a little bit to make sure you can't see anything else. And I just check the back, and as you can see, the back is nice and neat as well. So that looks lovely. And there we go. Our finished old iron cross. Hope you enjoyed watching. Look forward to seeing you again next time.